Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. Welcome to everyone watching or listening live on demand. This is the Makeshift Managers Podcast. I am, of course, that didn't go well. I'm Austin, and that's Devin.
Hey guys, we're back, and fuck man, if week 2 was a doozy, week 3's knocked me firmly on my ass.
If
What is
it's just
going
another
on?
week that shows us we don't know shit, and we're just here so we don't get fined, even though there's nothing here that's actually going to fine us. It's how the cookie crumbles, honestly. But let's get right into it. It's as simple as that. We'll start with Thursday Night Football. Are we surprised by this?
Yeah, I guess I don't know. It was a scary matchup with two very just inefficient offenses on paper. Granted, the Steelers are far less efficient than the Browns for the sole fact that regardless of who's the quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, one thing that Kevin Stefanski and the team have proved over the last 2-3 years is that their offensive line is the real deal. If there's one thing you're going to find in Cleveland besides murals of LeBron James and new Guardians merch, it is a stellar offensive line, and Nick Chubb loves running through those holes.
Yeah,
It
Chubb had a
wasn't.
big game. 113 yards and a touchdown on 23 carries, average 5 yards a carry.
He's
I
the
think they
best.
I think they even said on Thursday Night Football that he averages like 5 yards a carry in his career.
He's averaged 5 yards a carry for full seasons from like 2018 until like this year. It's like 5 or over, and then like 1 year was 4.9. Nick Chubb is arguably the best pure runner in football. He's just so damn strong. He's like impossible to break down. He's impossible to like bring down. He breaks tackles like nobody else. And then you add Kareem Hunt into the fold. It's just unfair.
Yeah, Kareem Hunt had a big week too when they played the Jets, and now Chubb just right back to where he belongs. Kareem only carried the ball 12 times for 47 yards, but Kareem in the passing game a little bit. But Mari Cooper was really in the passing game. 7 receptions, 101 yards, and a touchdown. Joby loves Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper's a great route runner at home, and he just goes to prove that, you can say all you want about, Dallas shouldn't have given him up, and you're probably right. But there's a multitude of things that led to that decision, but it's working out great for the Browns.
You can change the color of the jersey. You can change the number on the jersey. You can even change the color of the pants. Amari Cooper produces at the NFL level. At this point, he's like a rich man's version of Brandon Cooks. Like, correct me if I'm wrong. Like, Amari Cooper just produces, and while yes, he has weeks where he does go missing. The one thing that I've known him to be in his career is someone that's going to put up numbers, regardless of what season it is. He's about as big of a luck for 1,000 yards and like 6 to 7 touchdowns as damn near anybody. Like, he's proven it with Derek Carr, Dak Prescott, and now Jacoby Brissett. He's your quarterback's favorite target for a reason. Insanely great route runner, very physical receiver, great hands. He just works. And this is part of the reason why Cleveland went out and got him, because everybody else they had gotten prior was tired of Baker Mayfield shit. And Cleveland was as well, so now they're dealing with Deshaun Watson shit, and we'll see if he's able to be Deshaun Watson and deal with the shit until week 12. But I digress. David Njoku had a good game this week. 9 receptions, 89 yards, and a touchdown. If he's sitting on your waiver wire in fantasy, sucks. Anyone that drafted him, it's tough playing the tight end position for fantasy. Pittsburgh Steelers, Mitch Trubisky was out there. 20 completions for 207 yards and nothing else. He's incredibly safe, but he's also incredibly just low floor. He's either going to throw 2 picks or not win you the game. Najee Harris got in for a touchdown, which is great. His efficiency was better at 3.7 yards per carry. But you could put Nick Chubb behind this line. I don't know if he fares much differently. This Steelers offensive line was a problem last year, and it helped because Big Ben could get the ball out really quickly. Mitch holds on to it, and the line still sucks. Deontay Johnson is growing ever more frustrated. George Pickens had a reception from the shadow realm. He was parallel with the ground whenever he caught it. I don't understand how he corralled that one in, but it's not looking good in Pittsburgh. This is kind of what we expected, a team that on paper is extremely talented with a very, very good defense. TJ Watt being out really hurts, but then again, the Browns are missing Jadeveon Clowney and Myles Garrett, so you can't blame either of the defenses. It's just one team is markedly better, and the other team is far worse.
If you're Mike Tomlin, when are you throwing in Kenny Pickett? Like, I get it. Week 6. Okay.
Week 6.
Mitch Trubisky, 20 for 32, 207 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Like, we get it. The line's not great. Deontay Johnson had a really bad drop, too, that would have extended a drive. And so he's not getting help, but he's also not helping himself. There's just a lot. I don't know. Like, I like Mitch to an extent, but there's just not a whole lot going on now. And
I rescind my statement about week 6 because they rattle off some really tough opponents. And I'm all for getting the young guy out there, but I don't know if it's really wise to throw him out week 6 against. So Steelers play the Bucks in week 6. That's not the great matchup for your first start. Week 7, it doesn't get much better. They're playing the Dolphins. I don't like that matchup for Kenny Pickett.
No.
Week 8, you're looking at Steelers Eagles. So this could drag on. I don't see the benefit you're going to get from throwing Kenny Pickett out there and having him just get decimated, erasing any confidence that he might have had before he can even build it. Like, this is the week where Kenny Pickett goes out and you give him a shot because they're playing the Jets. But even then, it's like Mitch has gone 1-2 in some closer games. So I think Mitch could stick around a lot longer than anyone hopes for, just because I don't see Mike Tomlin throwing Kenny Pickett to the Wolves like that. It's just not very advantageous for either side.
Yeah, I can understand that. Okay, I think we can safely move on here. Probably the game of the week in terms of like hype going into it. Bills taking on the Dolphins, and the Dolphins exercising their demons after losing, 7 straight, I think, to the Buffalo Bills. Dolphins pulled this one out, even with Tua getting knocked out, literally, for a little bit there. You could go into this whole thing that the Bills didn't have this person, the Bills didn't have that person. They were stuck in the sun. They were stuck in this. They were stuck in that. But it's as simple as this. In the record books, you lost 21-19, and that's all anybody really gives a shit about. Nobody cares how you lost. Like, we'll get to some games where it's like nobody gives a shit why you lost. You lost. The Dolphins converted a 3rd and 22 with a 45-yard pass to Jalen Waddle? That can't happen. Josh Allen had a touchdown, threw it short. That can't happen. Like, the Bills' offense kind of just wasn't what they were over the past 2 weeks, and we knew that really wasn't sustainable anyways. They blew out the Rams. They blew out the Titans, and they are this great offense, and they'll be back to where they belong, but you're going to have hiccups here and there. You're going to play tough teams, and Miami has stepped up, and they're still without Byron Jones. They played really well. They kept Josh Allen in pocket for the most part. It's hard to keep Josh Allen from running. He's still got 8 carries for 47 yards, which is he didn't get a touchdown, so that's good. The rushing game kind of just wasn't there. They got just a little over 100 yards. But I mean, what do you think? Tua only went for 186 and a touchdown, but it was enough. Chase Edmonds found the end zone twice.
This is an example of the Bills trying to play chess when the entirety of the game was checkers. It's just the Bills played a great game if you look at the stat sheet, in terms of just the time of possession, they literally had the ball for over half of the game. They ran almost a third more. Like they ran over double the amount of plays that the Dolphins ran in this game. Miami ran 39 total plays to Buffalo's 90. And what I take from that is that Buffalo is just not efficient at putting up points, especially against this Dolphins defense. This game, I credit the Dolphins defense 1,000% and Tyler Bass's inaccurate leg. They lost by 2 points. Tyler Bass misses a field goal. They lost the game. Tyler Bass, congratulations. You're not helping your case. And this is all to go along with a butt punt that actually gave them the chance to win it with the field goal. It's mind-boggling. And yeah, Josh Allen had some bad throws. He had a wide open touchdown for Isaiah McKenzie that he just fucking threw into the ground. That's on Josh. And honestly, I think this loss is on the Bills. The Miami Dolphins played a brilliant game. What Mike McDaniel and Miami are doing is genuinely genius. They are literally putting their best players into space and creating for them. Something that Buffalo really doesn't do. Yes, Stephon Diggs is able to get himself open because he is a top-tier receiver, but McDaniel is scheming his top-tier receivers into open space. We saw it last week at the Ravens game when they were crossing patterns with Tyreek and Jalen Waddle. And while, yes, Tua didn't throw for an astronomical amount of yardage, he missed 5 total passes, and they didn't need him to throw for 400 yards and 6 touchdowns in a game against one of the best teams in the NFL. Yes, the Bills were missing defensive pieces, but I'm not going to blame the defense for just shit canning at this game. They had to sit in the sun. Boo fucking who. You know who has to do that every day of the week? Kids in high school practicing for their football games. The sun is not the reason the Bills lost this game. I just think they weren't prepared for what Miami was.
Josh Allen threw the ball 63 times, 400 yards and 2 touchdowns. Josh Allen had a great game.
Josh Allen cannot be your leading rusher in an NFL football game if you are trying to win a championship. The Buffalo Bills need to really identify how they're going to get the run game going. It could be a combination of Cook, Moss, and Singletary, but there has to be 20 carries divvied up between the three.
But we've been here before. This is exactly what we said all last season as to why the Bills could possibly lose in the playoffs. Now, I'm not saying they lost to the Chiefs because they didn't run the ball efficiently with their running backs. But we said this all last season, like with Singletary and Moss and Cook, they're not getting carries. Josh Allen is getting the most carries for the most part. I mean, Singletary had 1 more carry, but in terms of efficient carries, Josh Allen got 6 yards per carry roughly. And
Zach Moss averaged 11.5 yards a carry this game. He had 4 carries.
4 carries, yeah.
And the thing about the Bills' rushing attack is I don't want the Bills to turn into the San Francisco 49ers, where it's just a constant thing of 1st and 10, we're running a fucking draw or a sweep or a halfback action type shit. Josh Allen needs the ball in his hands. He is the best player on their team, and you put the ball in your best playmaker's hands. The running back can't throw it to Stephon Diggs. It's just not how this shit works. But they need to get efficient in the red zone because whenever it's Josh Allen versus the world, it's a lot harder than having Devin Singletary, Zach Moss, and James Cook being able to make their reads and get to the end zone. Because the best teams in the NFL are able to hit the ground running whenever it comes to the red zone scoring. Because whenever you're tight in there, unless you're Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, shit gets real tight in the red zone. Genuinely. It's a lot harder to throw a touchdown inside the 20 than it is outside of the 20. You have a lot more space to work with, and defenses are able to actually fine-tune who they're covering. And yes, Josh Allen is plenty talented, but this should open the eyes to the coaching staff of, hey, maybe we should work in the running backs more because Allen threw the ball 63 times. You're not keeping any team honest if your quarterback's going to throw it almost 70 times in the game whenever you ran 90 total plays.
All right. Dolphins are for real. They've come to play. Mike McDaniel, shout out.
They're the ones in the AFC.
I almost picked the Jets, and thank God he talks me out. This is what is. It's the first win for the Bengals. Whoop-de-doo. They did it. Joe Burrow threw for 275 and 3 touchdowns. Didn't turn the ball over. They didn't run the ball very well, but Joe Flacco threw 2 picks. That's not going to win you any games. They didn't run the ball particularly well. Tyler Conklin was their leading receiver, so shout out to Tyler Conklin for having a good day. But this game is what it is. We obviously know what the Jets are, and we kind of were questioning what the Bengals were, so the Bengals really need to win this game. And they lost to this team last year. They lost arguably to a worse team last year when they played the Jets. So they beat a better Jets team this year. Robert Saleh's keeping receipts, let me tell you. But I don't have a whole lot to say here. This was kind of like the game you expected. You expected the Bengals to win handily, and that's exactly what they did.
It's the Super Bowl hangover is officially over, or at least they're at a moderate headache at this point. The Bengals came off a magical run in last year's postseason and end of season last year. Bengals are a good football team. They're not great. They're not an elite tier team that I'll talk about week in and week out. They have a lot of problems. They can't keep Joe Burrow off of his back. They spent millions of dollars in this free agent period fortifying their offensive line. If I'm correct, Lyle Collins said, your bodyguard is here. They signed Collins, right?
Yeah. Oh, you're right. He
Yeah.
was ready for nobody to touch him, and then
And
13 sacks
everybody's been touching Joe Burrow.
Everybody.
Granted, he got sacked twice this game. That's a drastic improvement over the first couple of weeks. And to be fair, the Cowboys' defense is really good. Cincinnati was not playing a cakewalk defense in week 2. And then week
Right.
1, TJ Watt is a fucking monster. So they may have exercised some demons early in the season because looking at their schedule moving forward, they're not facing these like rock star defenses moving forward, at least for a couple of weeks. Well, I digress. Miami might punch them in the mouth, but this is a get right game, and in the most bold of terms. Tyler Boyd had a day. T. Higgins, big body, great receiver. Joe Mixon still needs to figure it out. Samaje Perine shouldn't be out producing you whenever you have 3 more carries. The Jets are just the Jets, man.
Well, I know he left the game at some point.
Joe.
His foot hurts or something. I don't know. But I know Mixon left the game at some point. But Perine got a reception touchdown, so good for him.
Yeah, the thing with the Bengals right now is last year they were not only extremely they were extremely efficient in explosive plays. They were relatively very healthy. This is a team where Joe Mixon's missed more games than he's played over the last 3 years, it feels like. And Joe Burrow missed over half of a season his rookie year. So health is going to be paramount for any team that wants to contend, but especially for the Bengals. Because while they are deep at receiver, they are not that deep at offensive line, and their defense is held together by impact people that they cannot afford to miss time. And it's not like the Rams where their impact guys are all pro, all world caliber. Trey Hendrickson is great, but he's not Aaron Donald. And don't even get me started whenever we're comparing Eli Apple or Chidobe Awuzie to Jalen Ramsey. It's not a comparison.
All right. The only 0-3 team left in the league, Las Vegas
Raiders. Raider Nation, where are you at? They're down in the dumps. I feel bad for Raiders fans. They could have beat the Chargers week 1. I'm thanking God they didn't, because we'd be the only 0-3 team in football. Holy shit, what a turn. I picked the Raiders. I genuinely thought the Titans had an easier road from down 0-3. I'm not going to say the Raiders season is over with, but I'm not sold they're going to win week 4. And I don't know if there's a team that started 0-4 and made the playoffs in the last 20 years.
I think let alone 0-3 teams have a 2.3% chance of making the playoffs.
Derek Carr just can't stop throwing picks. And granted, this week the pick that he did throw went straight through his receiver's hands and deflected twice. Derek Carr's just not getting any favors. Mac Hollins, do the Raiders want to win football games is my question. I get that Hunter Renfrow was out, but Mac Hollins out producing Devontae Adams just feels weird.
Well, you know how many targets Devontae Adams got in the second half, right?
0? 1. Okay, because Devontae had 5 receptions, 36 yards, and a touchdown. Foster Moreau is out producing Darren Waller. Like, I get defenses are keying in on these guys, but it's...
Darren Waller's got to stop dropping the ball. He's having big drops, and it's fucking killing them. It easily has cost them. You could look back at those games and say Darren Waller cost you both of these games because he just had key drops. Like, obviously, you can go to any point in the game and be like, oh, this was the turning point, and this was the turning point, but your top 5 tight ends shouldn't be dropping balls like that. Carr isn't getting any favors from his defense either, who... Derrick Henry averaging 4 yards a carry was tearing him up for a little bit there.
Derrick Henry finally woke up was the thing. That's
a little bit. He got 80 yards. 85. Sorry. He's getting there. I mean, Robert Woods had a good day, 4 receptions and 85 yards. Derrick Henry had 5 receptions for 58 yards. So even Derrick Henry's catching the ball at this point. So we're good to go. That's how you do it.
Raiders-Titans was going to be an interesting game. The teams aren't that far apart in terms of overall structure. The Titans' offensive line is bad, and it got worse with the loss of Taylor Lewan last week. Raiders' offensive line is terrible because they literally cut a first-round draft pick that was drafted 2 years ago, 2 weeks before the season started. Both of these teams have putrid offensive lines. The defense for the Titans is getting worse as we speak, and the Raiders' defense has just been bad. Both talented offenses on paper that are just dysfunctional for whatever reason seems to be happening currently. The Titans are working out the kinks, and the Raiders just can't seem to get the right foot forward. I'm interested to see next week's matchups because both of these teams will be playing division rivals, and I'm interested to see just how these teams are going to fare against each other because I'm leaning one way over the other, especially in both of these matchups. Because as good as Tennessee and the Raiders played in this game, for lack of better terms, I don't know if they're going to be able to beat their counterparts come next week.
Yeah, I mean, for the Raiders, you just gotta get Devontae the ball more, like at least in targets. Like it feels like so overused. Like 5 receptions for 36 yards is not the Devontae Adams we're used to. Granted, Aaron Rodgers is better than Derek Carr. We all know that.
I don't think it's a Derek Carr problem. At this point, it seems like it's a Josh McDaniels problem. Because Derek's not calling the plays. Derek is running plays where there are genuine reads, and if the read's not there, he has to progress through the playbook. And Derek Carr's a good enough quarterback to do that, but they're just not calling Devontae's number enough. It seems like this is the problem I've had because Patriots disciple head coaches don't fucking work on the NFL level. You give me a Brian Flores, I'll give you 6 Matt Patricias. It just doesn't fucking work. And we saw Josh McDaniels over a decade ago in Denver piss himself on national television on a weekly basis. I don't get why they went out and got this guy because it's going to be the same shit week in and week out. It'll look good, and he got all the talent this offseason, but if they can't start getting a couple of wins string together, McDaniels has to be on the hot seat. He hasn't proven me anything. That this team is a carbon copy of last year, but far better on paper. Not defensively, but offensively, this team should be able to logistically hang with anybody.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. And the thing is, too, I know Devontae Adams got double-teamed a lot yesterday, and I'm just looking at the stats. Like, Mac Hollins getting 8 receptions for 158 yards should be enough to win the game. Like, it really should be. Like, if Mac Hollins is producing that much, I mean, Aaron Waller 3 catches for 22 yards is fucking abysmal. But they really should have won this game. They're never in a position. They're always playing from behind.
And the thing about
they blew a lead. They blew a lead last week, and they had a chance to. They were driving on the Cardinals, and one shitty fumble following another, cost them the game. They've had some bad luck, but this is a game they got to win. I really felt like they should have won this game.
And the craziest part is this Raiders team has one of the better kickers the NFL has had over the last 2 years in Daniel Carlson. The kid's got a leg, and he's deadly accurate. And it'd be one thing if the Titans just sat on the ball all game, but the Raiders beat them in time of possession.
Yeah,
it comes down to how bad this team is at moving the chains, which is downright insane to me because of the additions of Devontae Adams and pairing him with a guy like Darren Waller, and you have a first-round running back in Josh Jacobs.
1 for 12 on third down.
And they went 3 for 3 on 4th down. If Josh McDaniels could pull his head out of his fucking dick and run a efficient play on third, the 4th down numbers wouldn't matter. That's the thing. Like, yeah, good for him. He's able to look at the analytics and go 3 for 3 on the 4th down conversions. I could care less about 4th down conversions. As a Chargers fan, they're cool and they look great for the news, but 1 for 12 on 3rd down is egregious, and it's downright terrible. They ran 10 more plays than the Titans.
If you didn't watch this game, you would think the Raiders won. They had more first downs. They were worse on 3rd down, but they got 3 for 3 on 4th down. They ran more plays. They
weren't just worse on 3rd down, Austin. They were abysmally bad on 3rd down. They got 1 conversion. And it resulted in 3 total punts for their offense. They weren't penalized nearly as badly as this Titans team. Yes, it was 6 to 7 flags, but Tennessee lost 85 yards to 44 on the Raiders side. The turnovers were the same. This is a game that they have to win. These are the games that on their schedule they had to win to compete in this division, let alone the conference, and they're just not doing it.
Yeah,
like, would we be surprised if Rich Bisaccia was the head coach coming into this year and they're 1-2? I'm not surprised. That man ripped my heart out of my chest last year just to be said, "Hey, dude, appreciate it. Bye." Like, I don't get it. I feel bad for Raiders fans. Genuinely, it's like pulling teeth, but there's no anesthesia. Speaking of pulling teeth.
Yeah, speaking of pulling teeth, dear God. Somebody get Jameis a wheelchair, man. Somebody. I mean, the Panthers have a good defense and all, but Jameis aired the ball out. He's back to famous Jameis, 25 for 41, 353, a touchdown, 2 interceptions. Mark Ingram getting that rushing touchdown made me so mad at the time. Let me tell you. Chris Olave, 9 receptions for 147 yards. Traquan Smith, 4 receptions for 105 yards in a game that Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry both left early, where Lamar is playing beat up. Fire Matt Rule. I don't give a shit that they won. Christian McCaffrey touched the ball more than 20 times, so shout out. They won. Granted, their defense did really well, but the stats are there now. Christian McCaffrey touches the ball over 20 times, you win the game. These are how these things work. My man had 25 carries for 108 yards.
We got to look at the correlation between the Christian McCaffrey touching the ball 20 plus times and Baker Mayfield touching the ball 20 plus times and figuring out if they lose more games than they win. One thing that I learned in this matchup is that Baker Mayfield is probably the worst starting quarterback in the NFL, and I don't think that's hyperbole. Baker Mayfield is terrible. You have a roster on the NFL level that is featuring names like Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore, and they both had a reception in this game. I don't know if it's a Matt Rule problem. It probably is, because every quarterback he's ever had can't sustain any passing attack in this offense. You've fired the coordinators. You've changed the quarterback every year. It'd be one thing if we were talking about Frank Reich, who's made it work over the better part of a half decade. Matt Rule's never won anything. Matt Rule's out here just basically throwing darts at a fucking dartboard, but sadly, he's in the middle of a hospital. Like, nothing makes sense in Carolina. Like, it just does not work. And the thing is, they're 1-2. Matt Rule deserves to be the first coach fired, regardless of how the season goes for Carolina. They could have a winning record. I just don't see Carolina amounting to anything until they cut the head off of this dragon, because Baker Mayfield's not it. Sam Darnold's not it. And they lost their rookie to a plantar fascia tear, and he's out for the year. There's nothing redeeming about this offense, and there's no way to convince me otherwise. They could have traded for Jimmy. They could have done literally anything than bring Baker Mayfield in. They keep moving valuable assets for shitty quarterbacks that are officially cooked before they even touch Carolina. 12 for 25.
Yeah, 12 for 25 is.
As hard as I was on Mitch Trubisky, so we go the hierarchy. You ever see Shark Tale? That movie with Will Smith. It's animated. It's got Jack Black in it.
No, but carry on.
So there's this scene where I forget who voices the fish, the puffer fish. He's explaining to Oscar about the food chain. So you have your sharks, you have your whales, you have your fish, you have your plankton, you have your krill, you have your sea cucumbers, yada, yada, yada. You have your seagrass. You have 50 feet of whale shit. And then there's you, Baker Mayfield. You're that bad. Like, genuinely, I don't think there's a way to make this get worse, because Hulu doesn't have live sports anymore. I sorry to break it to you. And to be fair, Baker didn't get kicked out of his house. He just stopped making the payments because he hasn't produced on a field since 2019. So the writing's on the wall. This is the worst game of the week. The fact that Carolina put up 22 points, mind-boggling. If I look at the stats, Eddie Pinheiro, 3 field goals. That's dope. I'm sure the defense scored a touchdown in there. It's embarrassing.
They did. They got a fumble reception.
It's genuinely embarrassing. Laviska Shenault, 2 receptions, 90 yards, and a touchdown. That's not replicable, and that's the biggest problem I have. I don't know what Carolina runs because I don't think Matt Rule knows what to run. There's nothing consistent about this team besides Christian McCaffrey.
And McCaffrey only had 2 receptions for 7 yards, which
that led the team. 2 receptions led the team.
Dump it down to him. My man, I can't complain too much because he got his over 20 carries. But at the same time, the man needs receptions. He's just so good in the open field. And Baker obviously isn't that great of a passer, so fucking dump it down.
You would think Baker Mayfield was the player with the neck injury, the way that he does not move his head whenever he's going through his progressions. I watched him take the snap, look directly at who he was throwing to, and get it batted down. It's like, of course they're going to be able to defend it. You're staring down every receiver you're reading to. Like
Yeah.
he's cooked. And hopefully Jameis can get healthy. Hopefully Dennis Allen can give Kamara the ball in an efficient way, at least in the red zone. And yeah, it's the Saints are better off. The Saints will do better, but
Fire Matt Rule.
change.org / / / fire Matt Rule at 2022 please and thank you.org. It's not an actual URL. Please don't type that in.
Okay, I actually skipped over a game by accident, so that one's on me. But that's okay because everyone needs to know. Okay, it do it. I don't know how else to say it. I'm gonna put this up every single week that this man just absolutely annihilates the competition. Because what did he do this week? He annihilated the competition. That's exactly what he did. The Ravens beat the Patriots, as I type out the score here, 37-26. What did Lamar do, you ask? Why does he deserve to get paid, you ask? He threw for 116 yards. Scoff at that. Threw for 4 touchdowns. Whoop-de-doo. He rushed 11 times for 107 yards and a touchdown. The man is doing it on his own. I don't know what else to say. My man is absolutely destroying people through the first 3 weeks of the season. Yes, he lost to the Dolphins. Wasn't his fucking fault, I'll tell you that much. What? Mark Andrews 8 for 89 and 2 touchdowns. Lamar's favorite target. Lamar is doing everything physically possible. Their defense got 3 picks off Mac Jones, so that probably helped. That's probably why he does a ton of yardage. Doesn't matter, he scored 5 fucking touchdowns. What else do I have to say? Like, you're with me on this, right? Like, pay the man. It feels like it's Aaron Judge right now. Like, Lamar Jackson didn't turn down an extension like Judge did, but these guys are waiting on a new contract, and they're both absolutely annihilating their sports right now. I don't know if what Lamar is doing is sustainable or if he's going to be the MVP. He is through the first 3 weeks, but I don't know what else to say. The man's putting it on his back and just taking it all the way. Like, what else do I have to say at this point?
I'm gonna just put some shit into context. 2018 NFL draft class and the 2017 NFL draft class are synonymous with each other in terms of just overall talent at the quarterback position. To a certain extent, you had 2 guys that came out were just generational, and you had a lot of duds mixed in between. I'm just going to give you some names, and I'm going to ask you some questions. So, who has the higher career win percentage? So, I'll give you 3. So, obviously, Deshaun Watson does not have the same. Deshaun Watson has a lower career win percentage than Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, who has the higher career win percentage?
Lamar.
Correct. Lamar's played in 61 games. Josh Allen's played in 64. Lamar has a 70. He has a 70 to 71% chance of winning you a game as a starter with a 43-18 record. Josh Allen has won 64% of his games. The only quarterback that has done better at this young of an age in the NFL at quarterback in the modern NFL is Patrick Mahomes, who's won damn near 79% of the games he's played in the NFL in the regular season. That's the only contemporary to Lamar Jackson right now. And Patrick Mahomes has the richest deal in NFL history. Pay Lamar Jackson. Because it's one thing if Lamar's putting up these numbers and they're not winning games. But that's not how it's worked out. Last year, whenever everybody else dropped like flies and he was the only guy left effectively, he had them as the number 1 seed in the AFC. The Ravens have not lost a game this year due to Lamar Jackson. They have won every single game they've played this year. They're 2-1. They've won 2 games because of Lamar Jackson, and they lost a game because of their defense. Simple as that. If Baltimore wants to be mediocre, they can go ahead and let Lamar walk. They need to get the extension done before the franchise tag window comes because he's not playing on a franchise tag.
No,
He's won you
no.
an MVP. He's made the playoffs arguably every year he was a starter because he didn't play half the games last year. Lamar Jackson is 100% that dude, and if you don't think he can throw the football, I'd like to see you take a drop back because genuinely, it's getting old. Back to the
and
game.
something you and
Good.
I talked about too, like offline before, is that, and I think you said it best, is that no Heisman Trophy winner, especially a quarterback, has been criticized as much as Lamar Jackson is, simply because he's a better runner than everybody else.
If Robert Griffin III never get this is essentially what's happening to Lamar. I think he's spurned by the ghost of RG3 because RG3's knees went and it was done. So there's this legitimate fear with Lamar that if the wheels fall off, he's just going to be a bad NFL quarterback.
He's
And
also
I
just
get it.
bigger than Robert.
He's bigger than Robert and he's smarter. Robert took a lot of hits that he did not need to take during his career. And to be fair, Shanahan did him no favors in Washington. But Lamar has gotten far better at avoiding hits and getting down or getting out of bounds. Lamar understands how powerful he is on the field, and he understands that he needs to protect himself.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have to throw the ball 60 times to win a game. This is a team that has done what every NFL team should do whenever they have a superstar talent on the offensive side. Build around them. The Chiefs did it with Tyreek and Kelsey. The Bills did it with Stephon Diggs. The Ravens have done it now. And yes, he does not have Stephon Diggs or a Tyreek Hill, but he's turned Mark Andrews into the best receiving tight end in the National Football League, aside from Travis Kelsey. I don't know what else you can ask of the guy. And if the Ravens do let him walk, I genuinely don't see
the dumbest thing they could do. It would literally be the dumbest thing they could do.
Even with Tyler Huntley doing well last season, let's not sit here and have an aversion to the fact that he's not Lamar Jackson. There is not another Lamar Jackson in the NFL. And
we were blown away at the time of what Cam Newton was doing in his prime.
But this Lamar's is so much bigger.
That's what I'm saying. Like, Lamar is, like, at the time when Cam Newton came in and set the record for rushing touchdowns and this and that, and kind of, was the best running quarterback in the league and still had a strong arm, we're blown away. Took the Panthers to the Super Bowl. But when Lamar throws the ball, he has a noodle arm. He's not, like, it's bullshit is what it is. It's excuses to just not appreciate what's happening here. My man only had to throw for 218 yards, and he still got 4 touchdowns, and he still rushed for over 107 yards.
This is a man that less than 3 years ago broke the record for the most rushing yards in NFL history. And for a single season at quarterback, breaking Michael Vick's record in 2006. And he followed it up in 2020 with another 1,000-yard season. The value – so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Out of the 12 years – out of the top 12 individual rushing seasons for an NFL quarterback, Lamar Jackson holds 3 of those places, and he almost rushed for 800 yards last season whenever he missed. So he played in
5 games. I think he missed 5 or 6.
He played in 12 games, so he's probably up in the top 5 if he's fully healthy. Lamar Jackson, I just think the NFL's having a hard time navigating the talent because baseball's having the same issue with Shohei Ohtani. You have a player that's doing things that nobody else on the planet can do, and you really have a hard time evaluating them. But what the MLB is doing with Shohei Ohtani is letting the players set the precedent. There's a reason why it's hard to evaluate Lamar Jackson. We have never seen Lamar Jackson. And yes, Michael Vick was great in his heyday, and in Vick's prime, he was electrifying. But to sit here and say that Lamar's not Vick times like 1.5 on the rushing game, and I think arm for arm, Vick might have had a more powerful arm, but I don't think he was as efficient as Lamar is through the air. Lamar scores touchdowns, and he went 18 for 29. Like, he has an MVP. He's literally got a 64% completion percentage for his career. It's hard to nitpick this guy. He's got 33 interceptions and 94 touchdowns. He's a young quarterback, but to say he's not worth the money is just it's fool's gold. And it's a quick way to find your team picking in the top 10 of the draft once again. Because it's not like the Ravens The Ravens didn't go out on a limb to draft Lamar Jackson. He fell. He was a gift to the Ravens. They didn't have to give anything up for him. Like, think Mac Jones to the Patriots, but the Ravens got a generational talent. Like, think Trevor Lawrence falling to the Patriots like last year. That's essentially talent-wise what happened.
All right, let's move on to somebody who also might get a good contract if he keeps it up. Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles. They throttled the fucking Commanders. They sacked Carson Wentz 8 times. Jalen Hurts had a good game. This game was never close at any single point. I really just don't know what to say here. Jalen Hurts threw for 340 yards and 3 touchdowns.
The Philadelphia Eagles recorded more sacks than the Washington Commanders scored points. That's the story of this game. Carson Wentz was in trouble, and it was often. Jalen Hurts is the real deal. It's fun to kick a kid while he's lying down. Whenever you give him Quez Watkins and Nelson Agholor, like, the weapons just weren't there. Devonta Smith was in and out. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside was the wide receiver 3, and Jalen Reagor's playing in Minnesota, if you want to call what he does playing. Hurts did not have the weapons last year. Miles Sanders couldn't stay healthy. Nick Sirianni was a rookie head coach. The defense is stellar this year. And whenever you're playing with a great defense, the offense just seems to flow. And if there's one thing we've learned about Jalen Hurts in the last decade, is that he's kind of a winner. I get that Tua usurped him at Alabama, but that's no fault to Jalen Hurts. He was a Heisman candidate for most of his college career, and he transferred out of Alabama and almost pushed for a national title at Oklahoma. Jalen Hurts is a top-level athletic talent, and he's proving it week in and week out. What the difference between Buffalo and the Eagles is, the Eagles play in a much less difficult landscape in the NFC than the Bills are occupying in the AFC. And I do think that the treasure trove of weapons that Jalen Hurts has at his display is better than what the Bills have currently. Stephon Diggs is better than A.J. Brown, but I'm taking Devonta Smith over Gabe Davis. And Miles Sanders, regardless of how many touchdowns he scores, is better than any running back they have in Buffalo. Not to mention they also have a killer offensive line for this Philadelphia Eagles team. Jason Kelce is still one of the best centers in football, and their line has been consistently good over the last 5 years. They added insane amounts of talent on the defensive end. Jordan Davis in the draft. They got the list goes on and on. James Bradbury, you name it. It does not matter at this point. This Eagles team they're built for the moment, and they're built to withstand the moment. This Eagles team doesn't have to win the Super Bowl this year. They're going to win their division, and they own the Saints' first-round pick. They have $35 million in cap space. The ceiling is the roof, to quote Michael Jordan, and they're aiming to shoot straight through it. Philadelphia's rebuild has been miraculous. They turned Carson Wentz into a 5-year window.
You want to talk about a team that's set up for the future and winning now and still set up to be good in the future? It's the Philadelphia Eagles, and they're in my division, so it's going to fucking suck, but I can't deny what they're doing. They have everything.
And this isn't like the Chip Kelly year one Eagles where Michael Vick was the quarterback. They had Vince Young as a backup, and they were adding veteran talent like nobody else. They have veteran talent on the defensive end, but offensively, this team is young, and they are ready to compete right now. There is no proven talents, but they're all proving themselves at the highest of levels. And you can argue about Jalen Hurts' accuracy as a quarterback, but whenever he's able to throw 3 touchdowns through the air, as long as he's getting those 3 scores, who cares what the completion percentage is? Because it doesn't matter.
Yeah. For the Commanders, there's not the better team in the situation. They kind of pick it up and move on. There's not a whole lot to go on here. They played the best in their division. They got beat up,
and their defense is not good.
Their defense isn't good. Their O-line got smashed. There's not a whole lot of positives, but I'm not going to go out here and say there's a whole lot of negatives because what happened, what was supposed to happen, happened, whether it was in Washington or not. I know it was in Washington, but there's just not a whole lot for the Commanders here. Move on next week. All right. They were so close. So close. But KJ Osborne with the last minute touchdown puts the Lions away. They were without DeAndre Swift. Jamal Williams had a big game. They're playing great games of football, are the Detroit Lions. They are here to stay. Jared Goff threw for 270 yards, a touchdown, a pick. Jamal Williams, 20 carries, 87 yards, 2 touchdowns. DeAndre Swift only got 7 carries for 31 yards, but he got hurt, unfortunately. Amon-Ra St. Brown got hurt, which is super unfortunate. Kirk, 24 for 41, not too great, but 260 yards, 2 touchdowns. Justin Jefferson got shut down for 3 receptions and 14 yards, but KJ Osborne and Adam Thielen, the touchdown machine himself, showed up here. Dalvin Cook, 17 carries for 96 yards and a touchdown. He left early. Madison got a touchdown. The Vikings fell early, but they tied it up going into the half, and they kind of just took over in the fourth with 14 points. It sucks for the Lions, but the Vikings need to bounce back more than the Lions did. More than anything, they're the team that needs to get beat the Packers in their division. Kevin O'Connell's offense is starting to flesh out a little bit. I'm not sure who they play next week. We can get to it, but they look much better than they did on Monday night. That's for sure.
Yeah, this was one of my favorite matchups of the week just because the NFC North outside of Chicago feels really tight. You've got a lot of talented players on any team in that division. And Jared Goff, he just didn't throw for that extra oomph in the touchdown department, which he has had over the last couple of weeks. This Vikings offense is really good. This Lions defense was called to task, and Okudah actually played really well against Justin Jefferson. The Vikings just kind of had the ball last, and that's how it works out in a lot of NFL football games. You get the ball last, you kind of control your own destiny. And the Lions defense has proven throughout this year that they are prone to bending and they break at the very end of the games. They're just not that talented on defense yet. The Vikings need to win this game. They need to keep pace with Green Bay because although they are more talented than Green Bay on both sides of the ball to a certain extent, not defense, but offensively, Green Bay is going to prove week in and week out that they are a team to be reckoned with. Minnesota needed to win. Kirk, not super inspiring, 24 for 41, isn't relatively as efficient as you would like. Dalvin Cook going out sucks. Justin Jefferson needs to be more involved. It's their worst case kind of came true, and they were able to pull it out, which I think is a good knock for Kevin O'Connell. And the Lions, for me, are just Jacksonville North, and the Jaguars are just Detroit South at this point. They're the 2 most talented bad teams in the league. And I can't even call Jacksonville bad because, it's the NFL feels so much more clustered now than it has over the last 4 years. It feels like any given Sunday, anybody can beat anybody. And we're seeing this week in and week out.
Oh, yeah, 100%. The Lions are definitely – they're fleshing out to be like a 7 to 8 win team the way they're playing. They're playing like a good team.
If there were a 16-game schedule, they'd be 500 this year. But if they win 8 games, that's nothing to shake a stick at. They are set up to compete in this division, especially if Rodgers calls it quits anytime soon.
Yeah. Did it.
You give Jonathan Taylor the ball 20 times. Holy shit, you put up points.
I mean, he only got 70 yards. Jonathan Taylor was the reason why they won this game, but it fits our stats, so we're just going to go with it. Jonathan Taylor got the ball over 20 times, and the Colts won the game.
It's a good start, is what I'm saying. You get because this is what the Bills lack. Like these teams that are great offensively, but they can't run the ball. It's hard to keep teams honest, and it's a lot easier for Matt Ryan to throw the ball for 222 yards and 2 scores whenever you're having to stay honest and load up against Jonathan Taylor. It's just the way that it works. And Jelani Woods, have a day. 2 touchdowns, 13 yards. That is crazy.
Yeah, for the Colts, they got Michael Pittman back, which is huge for them. Jonathan Taylor, like we said, got the ball 20 times. Ryan didn't throw an interception. They didn't turn over the ball. Or they did. They lost a fumble. But no interceptions from Matt Ryan was huge. Travis Kelce with a tough drop. Patrick Mahomes only 262 yards, only a touchdown. it didn't get called back. So, Patrick Mahomes was the leading rusher for the Kansas City Chiefs with 4 carries and 26 yards. We kind of said it with the Bills. That can't happen. Clyde Edwards-Helaire had 7 carries for 0 yards. So
and 1 touchdown. The Jordan Howard moment of the week.
The Jordan Howard trophy goes to man.
Yeah, Juju had a decent day, 89 yards. Kelsey got the touchdown, but
the ball got spread around, just not good enough. It came down to that Kelsey drop, honestly.
Well, the thing is, this is a team that relatively should have been playing for overtime or to win the game. They shouldn't have been playing to avoid the loss because Matt Amendola did miss a kick that I don't think Butker misses, to be fair. And that's a problem that any team is going to have whenever their starting place kicker is out for
that does change the dynamic of the game. You're not playing to get in field goal range at that point. You're kind of playing to score touchdowns, and it makes things a lot tougher on you because most of the time the other team knows that, with Harrison Butker out and Matt Amendola having not a whole lot of experience, that shit's going to happen, and it kind of bit the Chiefs here. So hopefully for their sake, Harrison Butker's healthy next week. It's what they need at this point.
A big thing for me is that the Colts probably saved their season this week. And the Chiefs are just chilling at this point. They didn't even need to win this game with how bad their divisions played to start the year. The Chiefs are
they're tied with the Broncos, but the Broncos are probably the worst 2-1 team in the league right now.
Yeah, and if the Chargers won their matchup, they'd be one of the worst 2-1 teams at this point, just due to injuries. Because the AFC West is a healthy Kansas City versus Nathaniel Hackett's dysfunctional troop of offensive playmakers and the Los Angeles Medical Ward. Because it's the AFC West is not the AFC best right now. It's looked bleak to start the year.
Let's just rip the Band-Aid.
Justin Fields more. Okay.
No, we're gonna keep on the AFC West. Rip the Band-Aid. Tell me on the doll where Trevor Lawrence hurt you.
They are who we thought they were. If you guys look back to the AFC South prediction show, I told everybody the Jacksonville Jaguars were going to be a thorn in everyone's side. I just didn't expect it to be a thorn in my side come week 3. Trevor fucking Lawrence is church, man. Anyone that doubted him coming into this year, Urban Meyer has that effect on people. He was kicking people. He was dancing at the Applebee's, and he was effectively tanking Trevor Lawrence's stock for a full year. Doug Peterson, coach of the year as of right now, and I don't think it's close. The change from Urban Meyer to Doug Peterson is essentially the change from so think of it like whenever we were fighting wars with sticks and stones whenever the first gun was made. That's effectively what Trevor Lawrence has turned into this year. 3 touchdowns against the Chargers defense that is banged up, mind you, but this team is dangerous. James Robinson is officially fully back, 100 yards and a touchdown, averaged 5.9 yards per carry, which was aided by a 50-yard touchdown that the defense gave up. ETN is still dynamic. Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, and Marvin Jones got into the touchdown party. Trevor Lawrence is not only throwing the ball well, he is divvying it out to a very high degree, and the defense played extremely well. Granted, Justin Herbert is playing through some rib cartilage injury. That is extremely painful, and I was surprised he even suited up with the way that they were reporting him.
And the fact, feel like he shouldn't have.
And the fact that he put up 300 yards, a touchdown, and a pick is commendable in my eyes. But whenever we're down 30 points in the third quarter, why not pull the guy? That's my biggest thing with Brandon Staley.
Yeah.
You have a team that is really, really injured at the moment, and it would be one thing if it was just Herbert, but Bosa left with the groin injury, and we have effectively lost Rashawn Slater for the year with a torn bicep. When it rains, it pours, and California's in a drought. If Rashawn Slater's out for the year, that means this Chargers team goes, in my opinion, from a Super Bowl contender to a fringe playoff team to a possible divisional round loss, because they can make the wild card still for sure. But this offensive line is going to put Herbert in a lot of distress without Slater. He was a big reason why this team took the steps they took last year with Justin Herbert, because he had accurate protection. And Joe Lombardi and Brandon Staley are on watch. Staley shouldn't have kept him in the game, and Lombardi has to get more creative with finding ways to get people open downfield or at least target people downfield, because the depth of target with a guy like Herbert's arm is just asinine. And Austin Eckler getting 4 carries in the game, I get we were getting blown out. But you have to get the ball into the playmakers' hands. And another thing, Jalen Guyton, done for the year with a torn ACL. That was our number 4 or 5 receiver, which, yes, doesn't hurt as bad as, say, Keenan Allen being out. But with the treasure trove of injuries we've collected in the first 3 weeks, it's got worse before it's getting better. And LA is going to have to hope they can weather the storm through this easy stretch of games, because if we drop one more, I think our playoff hopes might be dashed. Like, I've talked to my buddy Derek. He mentioned 11-6 is what he thinks, and I think 11-6 is doable, but it'll be tight. I think everything plays out well. We're around 10 or 11 wins, and the AFC right now, that might not be enough.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, you only ran the ball 12 times. Austin Eckler got the ball 4 times for 5 yards. He got 8 catches for 48 yards, which is where Austin Eckler does his damage the most.
PPR, baby.
PPR, baby. 1 catch. Here we go. But the offense is nowhere near what it was last year so far. And I get Justin Herbert is hurt. Me and Devin went back and forth on Sunday. I thought he should have never played to start with. I thought it should have been a throwaway. It would suck to kind of concede and go 1-2, but at the cost of your franchise quarterback, it's tough. But I'll give a huge props to Justin Herbert. He probably doesn't give a shit what I think. Since he's got SoFi banking now, he's good to go. But he threw for almost 300 yards, and I would probably not move out of my bed if I had cracked rib cartilage. So
one thing that I've talked about over the last couple of years is just how badly I've wanted Derwin James to be healthy. But I didn't realize the health of Derwin James would cost us the health of the entire team. The football gods are really weird. I'm happy Derwin's on the field because he's the best safety in football whenever he's healthy. But holy shit, man. This team just can't catch a break. It's bad. Like, snake bitten is the word we'll use, but
yeah,
if it's not one thing, it's another. Like, Austin, I was given out. Your team got banged up in the first week, and I was like, damn, that sucks. Week 3 comes, I'm in tears. I'm like, fuck, man. At least it's only Dak for you guys.
Right? On the other side, like we said, Trevor Lawrence is really slinging the ball really well right now. 28 for 39, 262, 3 touchdowns. James Robinson on a 4th and 1.
Can he be comeback player? James Robinson is comeback player of the year as long as he continues even 80% of what he's done so far this year. But could Trevor Lawrence be in the running? I know he didn't get hurt last year, but
at this point,
he wouldn't be in the running. But
yeah, I feel like James the award is mainly for guys who are hurt.
Yeah.
That's
James Robinson, congratulations on having some hardware, because, man, at 9 months off the Achilles, I'd give it to him today if I could.
Yeah. All right. Game of the week, Texans-Bears.
Nobody told me fucking Khalil Herbert had 157 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Oh, you didn't know?
I knew he went off, but I didn't realize he went fucking nuclear.
Yeah, David Montgomery had 3 carries, and Khalil Herbert said, all right, I'll see you later. Fuck the Texans.
He averaged 8 yards a carry on 20 carries. I didn't know Derrick Henry played in Chicago.
My man fucked up the Texans. Let me tell you what, brother.
Me, I took that personally.
Shout out to Justin Fields. He threw 6 more times than he did last week. He got up to 17 throws this time for 106 yards, no touchdowns, and 2 picks.
Love that for him.
I love that the Bears believe in him enough to sling the ball like he is. He had 8 carries for 47 yards, so that's cool. Basically Josh Allen, so that's good. Davis Mills, 2 picks, so that's cool. But it's Dameon Pierce season for all of you who drafted him in like the 5th round or whatever. He got 20 carries, 80 yards, and a touchdown. Both these
good.
The Bears. You were going to say the Chargers would have been the worst 2-1 team. The Bears are the worst 2-1 team. They're going to get throttled at some point. And I know someone's probably watching this and was like, oh, don't talk shit about my Bears. The Bears are 2-1. The Bears are this, the Bears and that. This is not sustainable. Khalil Herbert's not going to run for 160 yards every single week. I love Khalil Herbert, but it's not sustainable. You're probably not going to win any divisional games. The Texans are ass. They're probably going to have the 1 or 2 pick and go get a quarterback because Mike Glennon Jr. ain't it. So,
well, any professional football team that can relatively throw for 300 yards in a game is going to beat the Bears because they dominated this game on paper. But whenever Justin Fields is throwing for 82 yards, it's not going to beat anybody besides the league's worst teams. It's just the way that it works. And Khalil Herbert, yes, put the team on his back though, but like no, it's just not the way to win football games. They dominated the time of possession. They didn't lose the turnover battle, and they didn't really penalize themselves too much. They just did enough defensively to keep this game from kind of not leaning their way.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't have a lot to say here. I mean, people are going to celebrate that the Bears are 2-1 right now. We all said they were going to win like 3 games, so they've probably already reached their ceiling at this point. And they shocked the Niners in a rain game, and I'm not going to pick the Bears to win this year, at all. We both picked the Texans last week. It was a turnover battle. They both threw 2 picks, but Khalil Herbert just had a day. So shout out to Khalil Herbert for carrying the team. Justin Fields has not even thrown the ball 20 times, so I really don't know what to even say about it at this point.
That's the thing about like the slander against Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson. It's not like they're throwing the ball 17 times a game. Like they're throwing it 30 times a game and having like 3 to 4 touchdowns. It's night and day, man. Like it's insane. Prayers up for Justin Fields. He's not injured, but Eberflus has to let him throw the ball at some point because if they ever want to be competitive, you have to throw the ball at least 30 times in the NFL. At least 30.
That does remind me. I missed this earlier, but for this game, prayers out for Mac Jones. He got hurt on one of the last plays of the game. Mac Jones is going to be out for 3, 4, 5 weeks. I think it's a high ankle sprain. So Brian Hoyer is going to be under center for a little bit. So it really sucks for Mac Jones. I think he is a talented guy. Obviously, he's way more talented at football than I'll ever be. And he's under a good system. He's got a great head coach, and who knows what it could have been, but it sucks. For a year 2 quarterback, we would have said it about. It sucks for Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson hasn't been able to play. Trevor Lawrence, if he was hurt, it'd suck that he doesn't get to play. Justin Fields is pretty much not playing. Trey Lance went down last week. Like there's a slum of these year 2 quarterbacks who are just not having a good year right now, and it sucks for their development and it sucks for the future of ball. That if these guys, don't get the opportunities that they deserve, that it's going to be interesting. It's going to suck for the Patriots. It's going to be a tough 4 or 5 weeks without them for sure. Brian Hoyer is a great veteran and all, but he's a backup for a reason. He's been a backup his whole life. Mm-hmm. So. All right. Call of Duty beta was this weekend, so Kyler Murray decided not to find the end zone. So that was cool. I dropped Matt Prater the second he wants to kick 4 field goals. Cliff Kingsbury sucks. Sean McVay doesn't. You want to talk your Cliff Kingsbury shit? Because they should be winning right now, right? According to stats, Arizona should be winning right now under Cliff Kingsbury. The collapse isn't supposed to be right now.
At this point, with the money they're paying Kyler Murray, they should have just let him coach. He was out coaching Cliff in the preseason for chunks of games. It's crazy. Kyler Murray's the best player in his division right now, and I don't think it's relatively close. Outside of Cooper Kupp, the things that Kyler Murray is doing on NFL Sundays are unparalleled. For as good as Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts are, I think Kyler's the better arm out of the 3 of those guys. He's just not as big. Kyler's been wheeling and dealing. He threw the ball 60 times this game effectively. Didn't throw for a touchdown, but that's nothing to shake a stick at whenever Greg Dortch is your top receiver on the year. Jalen Ramsey is one of the best corners in football, and this is Rams defense is nothing to shake a stick at. Marquise Brown, 14 receptions for 140 yards. James Conner didn't do shit. Benjamin, not much there. And Darrell Williams, congratulations on your 2nd carry of the season. Kyler's playing with some really dire straits right now. Cam Akers woke up, 12 carries and a touchdown. Matthew Stafford did a whole lot of Mitch. No touchdowns, no picks, and 200 yards. Congratulations, Matt. Hope your elbow's feeling good. Cooper Kupp rushed for a touchdown in the wake of the fact that No one's getting touchdowns this week. He also failed to reach 100 yards or even 70. So Cooper Kupp's streak of being the craziest man on the planet officially ends, and he will start a new streak come next week because he's
realistically, he's still got like 16 PPR points.
I'm just saying in terms of overall yardage, he had like 22 straight
yeah.
games of at least like 60 yards receiving. But Kyler is the only reason why the Cardinals are 1-2. I don't think Cliff is the guy for this team. I think Kyler is easily the quarterback for this team. And I think whenever DeAndre Hopkins does come back, this team will be very solid, if not good. The problem for this team is they had 9 drops on the game. And Zach Ertz had a crucial one late in the fourth quarter that resulted in them having to go for a field goal instead of a touchdown. Granted, Higbee still probably recovers the extra point, but it changes the game. Kyler can only do so much, and whenever you don't throw a touchdown but your receivers drop 9 passes, it's not so much on him or even Call of Duty. It's just the fact that the pass catchers aren't up to snuff.
He really needs Rondale Moore and DeAndre Hopkins. Having that trio would be excellent for him. And Zach Ertz is a great tight end, and it sucks that he had a crucial drop like that. But like we said, Marquise Brown, 14 receptions for 140 yards, so shout out to Marquise Brown. But lining up Greg Dortch as your number 2 is just not going to get it done. Even if he could line up Rondale Moore the past 3 weeks, they probably would be 2-1 right now. They could probably have won one of those games. But now when you can line up Rondale Moore, DeAndre Hopkins, and Marquise Brown, Kyler is set up much more than he is right now.
This was just Bills. This was Bills Dolphins on a different coast. If you look at the tail of the tape, the Cardinals dominated this game. They ran almost 40 more plays than the Rams did. They held the ball for like a combined 8 minutes longer. Like they won the turnover battle. They had more yards. They were less efficient per play, and they had more first downs. They weren't as good on third down because the Rams just didn't have as many. They were 4 for 5 on fourth down. Like the Cardinals just could not find the end zone. And that is the thing that is going to make this Rams team effectively one of the best in the NFC until proven otherwise, because this is a defense that will bend here and there. You can get yards on the Rams defense, but they are not going to break most weeks, as evidenced by over 350 yards of total offense, but only 12 points. Not a single touchdown for the Cardinals this week. So if you're a Matt Prater fantasy manager, congratulations on a huge week, because Matt is that dude. But Cliff's got to figure something out, because this division, it's not – nobody's out of it as of yet, but you got 2 1-2 teams. Technically, you've got 3 1-2 teams, and the Rams at 2-1. This division still has the capacity to be broken wide open. But, yeah, week 6 cannot come fast enough for the Cardinals.
TDs, INTs, DMT. It doesn't matter. Aaron Rodgers finds a way to win. 255 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception.
Hey,
Aaron Rodgers threw an interception.
Adderall Rodgers doesn't care if he's throwing to Romeo Doubs or Randall Cobb. He's trying. If it's Tom Brady, it's personal, is what I take from Aaron Rodgers. I saw a meme. I saw a meme where it was they were talking, and it's like loser has to call their family. And we know that Aaron Rodgers is not talking to his family. So it made sense that they won. I do think Green Bay is the better team overall right now, just because Tampa Bay is missing a lot. They're down like 3 offensive linemen. They're down their top 3 wide receivers. And it's like Brady's great, but Rodgers is better right now. He's the back-to-back MVP. He's younger. His arm is stronger at this point. And it's just, I just think he has more left in the tank than a 45-year-old Tom Brady. How many more weeks can we expect him to throw the ball almost 50 times a game? Like, I get it. It's Tom fucking Brady, but he's a human being after all. The arm's eventually going to lose the luster on it. This was a defensive matchup for sure. Jones and Dillon were both quiet, but Rodgers made it work in a way that we've always counted on him to make it work, especially now without Devontae Adams. Lazard got a touchdown. Romeo Doubs had his best week of his rookie year. Randall Cobb was there for 2 massive plays. Like, this is the Rodgers we know and effectively love. This is the reason why he was the MVP the last 2 years. He's hyper efficient and he finds ways to win unless it's in the playoffs. But then again, the special teams don't do him much favors.
Brady's lack of receiving core caught with him. No Mike Evans, no Chris Godwin, no Julio Jones. Cole Beasley got 3 catches for 12 yards, so Cole Beasley's back. Russell Gage, 12 for 87 and a touchdown. They missed the 2-point conversion to end the game there, essentially. Leonard Fournette had 12 carries for 35 yards. Just not a whole lot going on for the Bucs here. A lot of defensive games this weekend for sure.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot of blowouts, not a whole lot of high scoring, a lot of question marks still. Not a lot of teams looking bad per se, like a lot of games close. So both these teams are 2-1. Both these teams lead their division. I still don't like the Packers. I just don't. I know Rodgers is going to find a way every single time to go 13-3 or only 4 losses with Matt LaFleur. Yeah. And Tom Brady is going to find a way to win his division because it's honestly just not that good of a division, especially since they slayed their demons. That is the New Orleans Saints. So both these teams are going to be fine. Both these teams are going to be in the playoffs. Rodgers said see you in January. So, yeah, probably.
The thing is, this was a game where you had the best team in the NFC playing the second best team in the NFC. And the Eagles have their claim to being the best team in the NFC right now in terms of what's been played. But these are 2 top teams at the lowest they've been in the last 3 years. So it was interesting to watch them have to play a methodical brand of football that neither have had to really do in the last 3 years. It was chess. This was effectively Settlers of Catan, but like both teams took PCP before. It was just like – you do this, I do this. It was like an MMO where it's just turn based. You do this, so I'm doing this, and then it led to 14-12. If you started Mason Crosby, I'm sorry.
Falcons beat the Seahawks.
Put some respect on my boy Marcus Mariota's name.
Marcus Mariota is filling in great for Dak Prescott in my fantasy football league. I love Marcus Mariota. Cordero Patterson, 17 carries, 141 yards and a touchdown. Your number 2 rusher in the league, Cordero Patterson. Geno Smith, they wrote him off. I'm going to say this every week that Geno loses. He got wrote off. He threw for 200. Oh, wait, no. I clicked. I was looking at Mariota. Geno threw for 325 yards, 2 touchdowns, a pick. Still wasn't enough. Tyler Lockett had an okay game. DK Metcalf caught a touchdown, but the Seahawks team just isn't good. They got throttled by Cordero Patterson. Their defense is not going to hold up most weeks. It was kind of 2 bad teams. They're both 1-2 now. They're both going to be near the bottom of their division. I don't. Calvin Ridley still suspended for gambling, and Watson.
Drake London.
Anyways, Drake London. Kyle Pitts. He
finally broke the 2 catches, 19 yards barrier. Thank God.
Love that. Arthur Smith.
He took it personally. He was like, yeah, I'll use Kyle Pitts however the fuck I see fit. And he's like, oh, shit. My great uncle has him starting this week. Kyle, you're going wide. Now, this Falcons team is going to be better than we give them credit for, just like they were last year. Like, they're talented. It's just you would wish they weren't as talented so they can get a better draft pick.
I mean, we can now use the stat when Kyle Pitts does not have 2 catches for 19 yards, the Falcons are undefeated. But when Kyle Pitts has 2 catches for 19 yards, Falcons are 0-2. Arthur Smith, this is not fantasy football. You are correct. But you threw Kyle Pitts the ball and you won the game. So correlation does, in fact, equate to causation.
So are we just going to correlate the Seahawks season to Russell Wilson being the Seahawks good luck charm? Because they beat Russell Wilson.
Let fly.
Seahawks country, let's do something, because if this is what we're looking forward to the next 15 weeks, good luck, Charlie, because the Seahawks are not going to get better. Geno is solid. Drew Lock is an unknown, so he could be better, I guess. I don't know. They're talented on the offensive side of the ball, but they're abysmal on the defensive side of the ball. And they can put up 20 points all they want. Their defense is going to allow around 30 per game.
Broncos country. I'm dead inside. So this game. Oh, God, dude. Oh.
I watched most of this game. And
I unfortunately also. watched most of this game.
We should be entitled to financial compensation.
If you or a loved one has been hurt by watching Jimmy Garoppolo versus Russell Wilson, you might be entitled to financial compensation. Broncos country, it's time. And by that, I mean it's play clock time. You're running out of time. I don't know who to start with. So I'm going to start with the Broncos. Because Russell Wilson threw for 184 yards. No touchdowns, no picks. They didn't turn the ball over. So that's good. But good Lord, this team fucking blows. They had 7 or 8 3-and-outs. They just couldn't move the fucking ball. They had 261 total yards. I don't want to take much away from this Niners defense, but good God, do something. They were 6 for 19 on third down. That's a little less than 33%, which 19 third downs, 8 3-and-outs. This is the worst 2-1 team, and the Bears are 2-1. What is going on?
So the Broncos punter Corliss Waitman had more total yards than the entirety of the Broncos offense. He punted for 476 yards on 10 punts. And mind you, it would be funnier if the Niners, were able to do anything efficiently on offense. They were not. Their punter, Mitch Wisnowski, punted for 362 yards through the air on Sunday night. And the Niners were able to put up a measly 267 total yards.
Jimmy Garoppolo safetied himself and then threw a pick six, the same play. Dan Orlovsky is set free.
The Niners defense effectively played one of the most dominant games of defensive football I have seen in over a year. It just took it took the Niners giving them the ball 3 times to Denver holding it onto it 3 times for them to lose this game.
An interception.
Jimmy gave the game away. The Broncos did not win this game. Jimmy Garoppolo just lost it. Like, that's as simple as it gets. If you want to complain about the Niners, complain about Jimmy Garoppolo, and that's about it. The Jeff Wilson Jr. fumble is the nail in the coffin, but Jimmy gave the Broncos effectively at least 5 points, and they lost by 1. There's no getting around it.
Are you concerned? Let's start with the Broncos. Are you concerned about the Broncos?
Yes, 1,000%. They hired a guy that's literally been drugged by Aaron Rodgers for the last 3 years. It'd be like, it's one thing whenever you're hiring an Andy Reid disciple. Like, if Eric Bieniemy became the head coach of the Broncos, I'd be like, I'll give him a break. He's led like top offenses in the league, but I have no faith in Nathaniel Hackett. He has a senior analyst up in the fucking press box telling him if he's going to go for it on a 4th down. At least Brandon Staley has the fucking manhood to just sit there and say, we're going for it. Like, I get it. It's nice to have the people that have the numbers in the room, but if they're telling you what to do and you're saying no and just holding everything up to where Russell Wilson's sitting there going, what are we doing? And then you have a delay of game. It just doesn't work. So Hackett has to figure it out, and Russ looks cooked. Russ is not good. He wasn't good last year. I don't know why everybody thought this Broncos team was going to be the best team in the AFC. Like, there are people talking about the Broncos being a Super Bowl favorite. Any team involving Russell Wilson since 2015 has not been a Super Bowl favorite. Just point blank. Russell Wilson, I don't think he's ever been that dude. He's been good, sure, even above average, very above average for portions of his career, but he's never been a top 5 quarterback perennially. And I don't think that's controversial. Russell Wilson's a borderline top 10 guy. I'd take Derek Carr over Russell Wilson right now. Hell, if you're looking at the numbers alone, I'd take Geno Smith over Russell Wilson right now. You have a man that they traded everything to get this guy. If you're looking strictly at numbers, I understand that. The Broncos set themselves back 8 years if this does not work out. They gave him a 5-year deal at 35 years old, I think. By the end of the deal, he'll be 40. They have an out after year 3. This deal makes no sense. They doubled down on a guy they had never seen play down a football for their team, for an organization that has been diddly shit since John Elway retired, and they had 3 years of Peyton Manning. Or 5 years, whatever you want to call it. The Denver Broncos are a ship without a rudder. And they could turn it around, sure. But but I have far more faith in this Niners team than I do the Broncos. Like, the Broncos defense is cool, but it's not the Niners defense. The Niners have Kyle Shanahan.
But what about Jimmy G?
I've seen Jimmy G do more with the Niners team than I've seen Russell Wilson do with any team in the last 3 years.
So last night doesn't concern you for
Even
Jimmy Garoppolo.
Fucking Jimmy Garoppolo's been terrible for the last 3 years, and the Niners have like 2 NFC Championship game appearances and a Super Bowl berth.
Fair.
Russell Wilson could be prime Russ, and this team might not make it out of the AFC. It'd be different if the Niners played in the AFC. I'd be far more concerned because the AFC is the objectively better conference.
Right.
But the Broncos went full fucking they full sent it in a window that I just didn't think made sense. I get they have the talent, but they're not using it effectively. Like, even looking at the total touches, Javonte Williams outtouched Melvin Gordon by 3 touches. They both were relatively inefficient. Cortland Sutton had 8 catches for 97 yards. Jerry Jeudy still can't catch the football, it seems. He had 2 receptions for 17 yards. Like, until Russ starts throwing for more than 200 yards and a couple of touchdowns a week, this team is just, you can't pick them because they can't put up offense, regardless of how good the defense is. Because it'd be one thing if they beat the Seahawks or if they scored like 30 points against the Seahawks and lost in a shootout, but they just looked terrible. And then they went and played the Texans in week 2, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
And the Texans are not a god-awful football team, but they are leaps and bounds worse than the Broncos. They're playing – this is the only game I could give them an excuse. But we have a track record now to the point where it's like the Broncos have not won a football game this year. Unless you want to say they beat the Texans. But to a larger degree, the Broncos are not convincing me of anything. Everyone's healthy. The coach is of able mind, apparently. The Broncos scare me. And if you're a Broncos fan, Broncos country, you better hope you guys ride. And it better be an actual horse, not one of those little carousels that you see in front of a grocery store. Because for the first 3 weeks, that's all Russ has given you. But man, it's bad. I don't know if I'm being like hyperbolic or exaggerating, but
I mean, I don't like the Broncos either. I'm kind of concerned for both teams a little bit. Jimmy looked like a guy who hadn't been a part of the team for the entire offseason. So obviously he's shut up plenty of people before, so I think he can do it again. But the Broncos just lost. Broncos look like they have no idea what they're doing, and they were lucky that they got out of this game with a win. Some fucking how. I will never understand how they won this game watching this game over. I could watch this game 10 times, and I will not understand how the Broncos won. And it blew my fucking mind. The Cowboys are up. Oh, go for it.
He has 743 yards on the season, and I'm surprised even saying that. That's how bad it's been. Because the thing with Denver is they're just inefficient as all hell. And that's the thing that scares me the most. Because the talent is the talent, but if efficiency is the truth. It's just the way that it is. Like, Russell Wilson can be Russell Wilson, but if the parts aren't meshing, then the efficiency is just not going to be there.
What was it before last night? It was 8 red zone drives, 6 red zone drives, like all field goals and 2 turnovers, like no touchdowns, red zone.
And they got lucky that Melvin Gordon took that one to the house, essentially. Like, Russ is not hitting anybody in the red zone for touchdowns.
Yeah. That's concerning.
100%.
Cowboys are up 6-3 right now, so we'll keep monitoring that game. We're split pick on that. I obviously picked the Cowboys. Devin picked Giants. The Giants have been a second half team so far over the Titans and the Panthers, so we'll see what happens there as the second half kicks off.
Cowboys are rushing it down their throats, man.
Yeah, they've had some really big rushes. They've sacked Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is having a big run right now, though. They've sacked Daniel Jones, I believe, 4 times, so the defense is stacking up well. 4 sacks, a blocked field goal. So the defense is doing their job. CeeDee Lamb had a really bad drop that was probably a touchdown. So that's hurting a lot right now, but we'll see. Cooper Rush has done just enough to win the game, so we'll see as Daniel Jones continues to drive here. Geez, he's running the ball well right now. Okay. Predictions. I wrote mine down earlier.
I've got them right here. I'm picking the Dolphins. If there's one thing I've been guilty of in the past. It's putting too much into a win, and I can't put enough into this Dolphins win, especially comparatively to what the Bengals did against the Jets. The Bengals achieved the status quo. It changes if Tua can't go for the Dolphins because who knows what's going to happen with this murky scenario of was it a concussion or was it the back injury? I genuinely don't know what's going to happen with Tua. If Tua plays, this Dolphins defense is good enough and the Dolphins offense is dynamic enough to keep pace. And I just don't know if I trust the Bengals to keep Burrow upright with what Miami can do on defense.
Yeah, I'm picking the Dolphins too. They just look like a better team. They're on fire right now. They're doing outstanding. So I expect them to pull this out. It's going to be a shootout for sure, though. You got Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, Tua Tagovailoa. You got Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase. So as good as the Dolphins' defense is, I expect this to be a insane shootout type game. But who knows? We've been saying that all year, and then they're extremely close games. So it's been hard to predict the NFL this year. Vikings Saints.
Picking the Vikings, the Saints are without a paddle at this point. The Saints just aren't good right now. And that's not necessarily their fault, but it's just not a good look for them. The Saints are in deep water. Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry might miss some time, and Jameis is still injured. So it's just not a good look.
That's my biggest concern, too. If Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry are missing time, Jameis Winston continues to be hurt, and Dennis Allen doesn't get Kamara the ball enough. I just don't think they can be that great of a team right now. So give me the Vikings. I picked them as well. Seahawks and Lions. I got the Lions. The Lions have played great football over the past 3 weeks. They don't have the record to show it, but they're better than the Seahawks. Jamal Williams should tear that defensive line apart.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I've got the Lions. It's apples to oranges. The Lions are one of the best teams that people thought were bad this year, and the Seahawks are one of the worst teams that nobody thought was good. It's just the bad versus the good. Like it's just the Lions lose this game. I'm not surprised because the Lions are still young, but this is a game they kind of have to win. This is the Lions' year to kind of prove people wrong and to kind of build up chemistry and just build upon eating shit for the last 3 years. So, yeah, the Lions have to win this one.
Jets and the Steelers.
I want to say the Jets. A lot of me wants to say the Jets.
Me too. I'm gonna say the Jets. Mitch Trubisky just doesn't look that great. Sauce Gardner is going to hold up Deontay Johnson all night. Najee Harris hasn't been that great, at least compared to what he was in his rookie year. Granted, that's a high bar to get to, but the Steelers' offense has just looked abysmal. Even if their defense can hold out, I think the Jets can put out 14 to 17 points, or even maybe 20, and that'll be enough to beat Mitch Trubisky. As long as Mitch Trubisky is the quarterback, he just hasn't shown me anything. It's where he can beat any team for that matter.
I'm going to pick the Jets. It'll be a fun little throwback for Joe Flacco playing against a division rival that he probably still hates to this day. I'm taking the Jets. If they struggled against Donovan Peoples-Jones and the other ragtag bunch of receivers behind Amari Cooper, I'm sure Elijah Moore and Garrett Wilson with Corey Davis is going to be more than a handful for the secondary to contend with.
Bears and Giants.
Give me the Gigantes. The Bears suck, and the Giants don't suck right now for some reason. I like the head coach more. I like the quarterback more for the Giants, and they're just a better team. Kayvon Thibodeau was playing this week, and I think he's going to be healthy next week, so Bears aren't good.
Yeah, give me the Giants, too. They're playing a good game against Dallas right now. Their defense is somewhat strong, and if Justin Fields is only going to throw the ball 3 times, they probably have a chance anyway. Khalil Herbert should probably have a good day if David Montgomery's going to miss time, but outside of that, I think the Giants should be able to at least get their 3rd win because they're not going to get it tonight. The Titans and the Colts.
I'm saying this for one of 2 reasons. The Colts beat the best team in the AFC West, and the Titans beat the worst team in the AFC West. And I just think the Titans' defense has more question marks than the Colts' defense has at this point. And I think the Colts are starting to get healthy in a way that the Titans haven't had. Every week we've gone through, the Titans seem to get more and more hurt. And the Colts seem to get healthier and healthier. And if Shaquille Leonard can finally play this season, I think it's Colts, and it's not that close. Because the biggest thing they've been missing is Shaq Leonard. So I've got the Colts in this matchup. Derrick Henry could go off for 200 yards, and I could just be eating crow. But I'm riding the wave, and There's two teams that are underperforming, but for once, the Colts are actually in the driver's seat in a division that has been tight and dominant. So if the Colts want to win the division, they're going to have to beat the Titans this week and then be chasing Jacksonville because,
yeah. I'm going to take the Titans. I think they're just going to continue their dominance over the Colts. Matt Ryan has not looked any better than Carson Wentz did. And I just think Jonathan Taylor and Derek, it's going to come down to one of those two. They're going to absolutely beat the crap out of each other in terms of just rushing yards. But I think the Titans are going to pull it out.
I don't
Chargers,
know how.
No, go for it.
I just think the Colts defensively have a bit more this year than they had last year. Stephon Gilmore, Yannick Ngakoue, they still have DeForest Buckner. And it's just Ryan Tannehill has been shit this year. Ryan Tannehill has not been good. He had a rushing touchdown last week, which was the difference maker against Derek Carr, but he threw for 1 touchdown and 1 pick.
He got a rushing touchdown because Henry got tackled up one. So
yeah, but exactly. Like I don't view Tannehill as this because it'd be one thing. Yeah, Matt Ryan's not an upgrade over Carson Wentz, but I don't think Ryan Tannehill's an upgrade over himself last year. I think he's far worse.
Chargers, Texans.
Chargers. We're not going to talk about it because I'll jinx it. But yeah, they're hurt. They're down bad. Hopefully nobody gets COVID. If everyone's not got COVID, I think the Chargers should be able to beat the Texans. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the Chargers have to win this game. They're the better team all around. The Texans haven't shown any light really towards anybody. They played a good game against the Bears. They played a decent game against the Broncos, but the Broncos look terrible, and they tied with the Colts week 1. So the Texans are playing close games, but the Chargers really need to win this one. Browns.
I think the Chargers take some pride in this matchup. They know what happened last year. They missed the playoffs by a game. If this is a game where they come out flat, don't fire Brandon Staley. But I need answers from the guy. I need answers from the dude because if there's one game to get up for, it's this one. Genuinely.
Yeah. Browns, Falcons.
It's the Browns. Every week I've picked against them, they've won. So they're going to lose this week. Watch, but I'm picking the Browns.
They're just the Falcons' defense isn't good.
And if Jadeveon Clowney and Myles Garrett are back, I'm praying for Marcus Mariota's sanity because, dear God.
Yeah, give me the Browns. Amari Cooper looked good. He's Jacoby Brissett's favorite target. Amari Cooper was one step out of bounds and one drop from having a 150, 160-yard game. So if he continues that, we're good to go. Commanders, Cowboys. With the news that it is possible that Dak Prescott could play on Sunday. That is the report. I don't think he's going to. I don't think he should. But the reports are that Dak Prescott could return on Sunday.
I'm taking the Cowboys even if Dak can't play. Your guys' defense is the real deal, and that's the biggest thing about playing the Commanders. You have a good defense, you have an advantage off rip. And even though Cooper Rush is limited, I still think he has as much upside as Carson Wentz. And the weapons, while they are not as good as the Commanders, I just think your defense is better. And I think Kellen Moore can scheme this team into winning that game. They beat the fucking Vikings last year with the similar setup. So I've got the Cowboys in this matchup regardless.
Yeah, I obviously have the Cowboys. I don't think the Commanders are that great of a team. And our defense has been stellar. If it continues to be stellar, we'll just fine. Jaguars and Eagles. It's the Eagles. I love the Jags, but it's the Eagles.
The Eagles are going to win, but I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think the Jags actually make this thing interesting. I think it's probably like 35-28, something along those lines. I think these are two of the hottest teams in football. So regardless of how it plays out, I'm definitely excited. This is the game of the week in my eyes. I think Jaguars-Eagles will be a barn burner. But yeah, give me the Eagles.
Bills-Ravens.
You go
Baltimore.
First. You go first.
Baltimore.
You're going Baltimore.
Lamar setting the world on fire. And if the Bills continue to have a shitty secondary because they're hurt as hell, Hyde's out for the year, they're going to continue to be hurt. I don't know what the health of Stephon Diggs is right now, but I know he got hurt. The Bills are great. Don't get me wrong. They could light up the Baltimore defense, but I think Lamar is going to continue his tear. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, but I think Lamar can squeak it out for sure.
I'm going with the Bills. we're talking about a Baltimore team that just lost to Miami in a shootout. I don't trust Baltimore's defense more than I trust the defense for the Buffalo Bills. Yes, they lost to Miami. It was a really weird game. Miami genuinely lost in all facets of the game in terms of like time of possession, yards, you name it, total plays, and Buffalo just couldn't pull a win out. I think that Buffalo wins this game. It will be close. Lamar's lighting the world on fire, but defensively they're healthier, and I think offensively these teams are relatively close. And while Lamar's playing better than Allen currently, Allen still has better weapons.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to kind of ring true on the Sunday. Because as good as Lamar is, I don't know if the Ravens averaged 30 points a week this year, and they allowed 26 points to Mac Jones and the New England Patriots, who have struggled to put points on the board for a bulk of this start of the year. So even with the loss of the Dolphins, I think the Bills are in a better spot to win this game because the Ravens' defenses have looked porous at best.
Cardinals, Panthers.
It's the Cardinals.
I'm not.
I think
I'm not.
Kyler Murray.
I think both head coaches suck.
Yeah, Kyler Murray is going to go nuclear against the Panthers. The Panthers suck.
Yeah, I mean, is this a loser gets fired type game? Like if Matt Rule loses, he should be fired. If Cliff Kingsbury loses, he should be fired.
At least Cliff has a winning season, Like a thing too, Stephon Diggs, he was suffering cramps in the last game due to the heat. So he should be a full go. He should be a full go against Baltimore.
But still, I'm picking the Cardinals. I can't pick the Panthers still, even if they beat the Saints. Broncos, Raiders.
I'm picking the Raiders.
Yeah.
I'm picking the Raiders. The Broncos have been so damn inefficient. And the Raiders have to win at some point. And at the same point, the Chargers have to make up a game somehow. So this is just, it's fan service. It's biased, if you want to call it that. But the Broncos have not been anywhere close to as efficient on offense as the Raiders have been. And defensively, the Raiders suck. But it would be one thing if the Broncos could actually score points. And they just haven't been able to do it. So this could be the get right. It's a get right week for both teams. One just desperately needs to win. So it's close. But
the Broncos have already played bad defenses and they didn't put up a ton of points, so it doesn't really stand out to me as they're playing a bad defense. Oh, they played bad defense before. Broncos have just been so fucking inefficient until they show otherwise. I'm not going to pick them to win games. They're 2-1. That's cool, but they just don't look like they should be winning any of their games. Patriots, Packers. It's the Packers. Even if Mac Jones was healthy, I would have picked the Packers. But with Mac Jones being down and Brian Hoyer's going to start, it makes me even pick the Packers even easier.
Even if Mac Jones was playing for the Patriots, hell, Tom Brady could have been starting for the Patriots this week. I'm still taking the Packers. The Packers are just a better team. Defensively, they're one of the best units in football whenever they have their head out of their ass. Jair Alexander should not play zone against Justin Jefferson. It's just the way that it works. Yeah, the Packers are going to win this game. Brian Hoyer, Drew Bledsoe, Tom Brady, doesn't matter. Packers by 10.
Chiefs and Buccaneers.
Chiefs are going to win. They're one of the hottest teams in football. They gave one up against the Colts. Hopefully Butker's back, but unless Mike Evans will be back, which is interesting, but I don't think Godwin's a go, and I don't think Julio's back. And it's just the offensive line is still dealing with issues, and Kansas City's defense has been surprising.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the Chiefs have this one for sure. It'd be cool if it was another shootout like it was it last year? They had a massive shootout. Monday Night Football is the Rams and the 49ers.
I'm going the Rams because I have no faith in Jimmy Garoppolo, but it's going to be close. I do pick the Rams. I think the efficiency on offense will be paramount. It's going to be really hard for this Niners team to win if Jimmy Garoppolo continuously just gives the ball up. So go ahead and sign me up.
I'm going to take the Niners. I know the Rams exercised their demons in the playoffs last year, but I don't think that's going to change anything for the regular season per se. I think the Niners still realistically have their number. And yes, Jimmy G looked fucking awful. but they just find a way to beat the Rams every time with the way they play ball, with their short yardage and playmaker type plays. I think they'll find a way to beat the Rams. So give me the Niners.
Yeah, that's fair. I think it'll be a close game. The Niners have not looked. They've looked decent, and this is a team that lost to the Bears in week 1. And I know it was the fucking Monsoon Bowl, but the Rams have had a lot of questions, and I think they're starting to find their identity again. Cam Akers getting a lion's share of the carries is a good sign for this team. They're getting back to what made them good in the playoffs.
Yeah. All right. Week 4 will probably show us that we still don't know shit. Pending tonight's game, our records currently, both me and Devin are 23, 23, and 1. So that means you should only listen to us half of the time. It's just that easy. Listen to half the episode, listen to us half the time, listen to half of me, then listen to half of Devin. Only listen to half the show. That's it. That's all you do. Right at the halfway point, you shut it off. You watch the first half or you watch the second half. You can't watch both. Only half. Makes sense to me.
Works for me as well.
Cowboys and Giants are tied at 6, so no idea how this game is going to play out. So we'll see.
The Giants are going to win, but
fuck. Why you gotta be so negative all the time?
Hey, dude, you guys can't. You guys can't be 2-1 because if you guys are 2-1 going into next week, you're just gonna be talking shit to me all week, and I can't deal with that. I can't. I'm sorry. Like, oh yeah, the Cowboys have the Cowboys have a better record than the Chargers. I'll be like, dude, it'll be like every morning, like, hey man, we don't have Dak and we're still better than you.
I mean, once you fully accept that Cooper Rush is a better quarterback than Justin Herbert, we can all move on with our lives.
Man, that single quote might get us canceled. Like, that might be the end of the podcast.
Well, Cooper Rush will be 3-0 tomorrow, and honestly, that's 100% winning percentage. That's better than any of the quarterbacks we listed earlier. Mahomes got 79%. So Cooper Rush and Patrick Mahomes. Like, how far do you want me to go with this?
Patrick Mahomes in his pseudo rookie year threw for 50 touchdowns. Your quarterback barely eclipsed 50 yards in the first half this week.
That's fine. It's fine.
Dink and dunk, baby.
If Jimmy Garoppolo can get praise for quarterback wins, then Cooper Rush can also get praise for quarterback wins.
I have never praised Jimmy Garoppolo for quarterback wins. I've always said Jimmy sucks. Quarterback wins are a team stat. Like, I hate when people are like, well, wins are a quarterback stat. I'm like, sure, I guess. Like, what are we talking about? Wins are a quarterback stat, and death is. I don't get it. It's
speaking of death and taxes. What's Brandon Cooks at? How's he doing? Let's see here. Saquon Barkley just rushed for a touchdown, so that's cool.
No shit.
Yeah. Let's see. Can't find the Texans anywhere. Go. Brandon Cooks. Hit two catchers for 22 yards. Oh boy. He's got 158 yards this season, so he's got a lot of catching up to do, but he'll be fine. Death taxes and Brandon Cooks 1,000 receiving yards. Three guarantees live. There's actually 4 guarantees. Devin will hit you with the 5th guarantee as we sign off.
Well, from Austin and I to everybody else that's watching, that Saquon Barkley touchdown just pushed my wife's team over the edge of a loss. So I'm going to have to eat crow on that one. But from everybody here at the Makeshift Managers Podcast to everybody listening, we appreciate you for tuning in, and we'll catch you next week. Hopefully your team wins a game this week because mine hasn't done it in 2. So from Austin and myself, peace.